Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Thursday, February 8th, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, ready to break down the Thursday card. We have a really great card of action tonight in the NHL. We've got some really good games, for sure. We've got some really good betting opportunities, certainly a lot more than we saw in particular last night on the small three-game slate. So we are definitely looking forward to be breaking down this Thursday NHL card. I do want to mention one thing, just an item that I think I want to mention, because we've obviously had a hellacious month, yours truly, with these social media accounts. There's clearly been a vicious attack on me as far as Twitter and X is concerned. That account was hacked weeks ago and compromised, and I've abandoned it because now it's just spamming crypto shit. I think it's basically a spam bot thing now that's taken over that. So I've had to restart my Twitter X account, which, as you know now, is @BobanoBets. Unfortunately, that same situation that led to the Twitter X abandonment also took over my original YouTube channel. So we had to shut that down as well. So I've had to start a brand new YouTube channel. There it is on the screen, youtube.com/@BobanoBets. Okay, that's where all my other sports betting content outside of the Ice Guys will be moving forward in all the other sports. So make sure you subscribe to that channel there. For the meantime, I'll also be simulcasting my content on the Ice Guys channel just for the next month or two until we build up the audience on the new YouTube channel that I've just created. So again, youtube.com/@BobanoBets is where you can find that new personal YouTube channel where I'll have all the other content. Just wanted to mention that. Let's talk Wednesday NHL. Obviously, last night we had a it was a pretty entertaining night. Lightning and Rangers was a pretty good hockey game. The magic of Jonathan Quick rolls along. Another very solid performance for him in net, and another New York Ranger win. That's 2 in a row coming out of the All-Star break, 3 in a row overall for the Rangers as they take care of Tampa Bay last night. Dallas-Toronto, a very entertaining game. I apologize for being so indecisive on the show about this game. I ended up after the show ended and I started to see the lineup information, we finally got Wedgwood confirmed. I really started to get on liking goals in that game. And on the Patreon page, when I posted the card for Alex and I yesterday, I ended up on over first period, both teams to score first period, and over 6.5. And I'm really pissed off that I didn't like it early enough that I mentioned it on the show yesterday. It was one of those things where it's just closer to the game, you start to like something more last minute when you see the lineups. And that's exactly what happened with that Leaf Stars game. So that was the one game that ended up going quite well. We had the first period over, both teams to score. If you're a Patreon member, you would have seen it. I want to point that out because it was on the card that was posted on the page last night, as well as the 6.5 over. I just felt Wedgwood, in the back-to-back, Dallas would be a little more aggressive offensively after giving up 48 the other night. They were. I knew Toronto would be looking to throw a lot at the net after losing to the Islanders, so kind of set up nicely for some goals. And look, Toronto played a really good game, especially after the bad first period they had, but they were the better team in the last two periods. But classic Toronto Maple Leafs, they can't make it easy on their fans. They get it to 5-3 with those two quick goals. Dallas makes it interesting, 5-4. But they hang on. I thought for a minute Dallas might have tied it there and get that draw as well in that game. But Leafs hang on for a 5-4 win. What is getting concerning is, what's great. There's good news, bad news for Toronto. The great news is that was a dominant night for all their top players. I've never seen their top players in a long time play that good collectively in the same game. Nylander, Matthews, Marner, Tavares, all four of those guys were spectacular, and they all made an impact last night for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But the negative is all of a sudden they're getting zero offense from their third and their fourth line, and it's becoming a major problem. Bertuzzi hasn't scored in eons. Domi hasn't scored in eons. Nyes is really ice cold right now, and I'm giving him a bit of a break. He's a rookie, straight out of college. It's his first full NHL season. I'm giving him a little bit of a pass, but what's Domi's excuse? Bertuzzi's excuse? These guys haven't scored it from forever for this Toronto team. I mean, Bertuzzi in particular, he's got one goal in his last 27 games for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's certainly not what they signed up for when they paid him north of $5 million this year for the Leafs. So they definitely need a little bit more depth scoring. They're not getting it right now. But the big guns, the core fours, they call them in Toronto, they were awesome last night, and that was enough for them to beat Dallas 5-4. And then we saw Minnesota, not pretty, but they get the job done against Chicago 2-1 last night. They dominated the first period. If not for Peter Mrazek, that could have been a lot worse for the Chicago Blackhawks. But I thought Chicago played well in the last two periods. But again, just not enough finish right now offensively for this team, other than a puck that bounced right over to Nick Foligno, and he was able to bury it for the only Chicago goal last night. It's just very tough sledding for this team, to be able to score goals right now. The highlight of the game was undoubtedly one of the better fights I've seen this season in the NHL. It had to be. It was absolutely terrific. It was Jared Tenorti and Marcus Foligno, and it was a big boy, not for the faint of heart scrap between these two. They were chucking bombs. They were throwing blows big time, exchanging massive punches back and forth. And what I love is it was a lengthy tilt. The officials finally did their job the right way. They stood back. They let those two big guys go at it. It was an absolutely outstanding. It was one of the better fights I've seen in the NHL this season. No question about it. And what I love, too, is hearing Darren Pang on the broadcast. He's just losing it. He's so excited watching that fight take place. And that's what I love about Panger. If you've listened to Panger going back to when he was at ESPN the first time, 25 years ago, all these years he's been doing regional broadcasts, the Blues most recently, and now the Blackhawks. He always gets into the fights. He always gets into the tilts, and that's what I love about Panger there. And he was definitely excited. I think we all were watching that fight go down between Jared Tenorti and Marcus Foligno. Great stuff. And it's just a reminder that only in this sport can 1v1 to have a throwdown, have a fight, and all you get for it is a 5-minute stay in the penalty box. That's your only penalty for it. You don't see that in football. You don't see that in basketball. You don't see that in baseball. If two guys are ever going to fight, and you don't really hardly ever see it, but if it were to happen, they're getting the book thrown at them. They're getting a multi-game suspension, and that kind of stuff. Not in this sport, and that's why we still need it around, in my opinion. Alex, thoughts on last night?
We can start with that game, and it's funny because I went out last night and watched that game, and kind of, I think it's good to kind of give yourself a different perspective. We, just like we do with our betcast, it's a great time. We're all, here and having sharing of the minds, meeting of the minds, and making bets. Of course, then the average night we're just sitting here at our computers and phones. But sometimes getting out and watching the game just for a night can give you just a little bit difference of perspective. And that fight was one of the big things that I noticed with that contest. There was no energy from the Hawks at all in that first period. It was very minimal energy. Like I said, they were controlling the pace, but it wasn't a whole lot really being done by Minnesota. That fight jazzed up the rest of that game. And just like we talked about, over the last couple of weeks, how we've been seeing some good defensive games. They've been good games, but they've just been low scoring. That's what that game ended up being last night. It went from being a dull game with no scoring to a good game with no scoring because the pace increased once you saw that fight. And that was arguably fight of the year. Everybody was literally just, there was almost no sound. Everybody was just turning and watching this fight and seeing how long it went. And that was a long fight considering how fights go nowadays as well, too. Like I said, waving off the linesman. You don't get to see that too often these days. And I mean, some real heavy punches thrown on both ends. So it was a great fight. And it's good to see, like you said, having something that really sparks the team up. People always want to try to downplay that fights don't really do anything. And it's like, no, that fight changed the entire shift of that game and kept the Hawks in that game. To be honest, like you said, Peter Mrazek was excellent in the first period, but the rest of the team looked like shit. And they could have easily been down 4-0 or 4-1 in that contest. And so they kept them in that game and made it a full 60-minute contest that was very exciting to watch. So, like I said, something that desperately needs to be part of the game moving forward. We should not be losing that because those things do matter. At Tampa Bay and New York game was a really good one as well. And we kind of anticipated that this had that kind of playoff feel. These are two teams that are familiar with each other, two teams that don't like each other. And it was a bit physical too, but it wasn't overboard. Obviously, of course, the Sergachev injury, that was just very hard to watch and see. And hope that, he'll be well and recover sooner than later. That kind of took the air out of the sails with Tampa. And I said in our little DM, I said, Rangers to score next goal. And sure enough, they did do that. But then I came back and had both teams to score in the third period, which cashed as well. So that was a nice little spot for me, even though I didn't hit with the draw. And like you said, the point of having Patreon, one of the things with having the rundown is, like you said, if you add in things, I had that with that correct score first period a while back with Chicago, Seattle. That was an add-on. That was something that we thought of late. We think of so many plays, and there's so many things we like on this show live, but there's some things that pop up later or some things that we kind of go back over and look, and we add those in. And that's why subscribing to the Patreon is so important, because you have some of those spots and some of those extra plays, some little bit more time to look at something, and something else pops up and you have another idea, and that can lead to a wager. So, for a short night, it was an exciting night, and I think it's going to be a really exciting night tonight with some of the big games we got for this matchup.
Yeah, no doubt. That was just a mini little appetizer. That was just, we got some hockey for you tonight. That's what last night was. We got some NHL hockey last night. Tonight we've got some serious NHL hockey, because we've got multiple games that stand out right off the hop. And you know what? It's funny that one of them is going to lead us off here for this Thursday night card right away. This is a rematch of the 2011 Stanley Cup Final. One that our good friend Jimmy Murphy covered, of course, since he's been covering this Boston Bruins team for upwards of 20 years now. And they are in action tonight. And just like in 2011, when they were two of the best teams in the NHL, they are once again right now two of the best teams in the NHL. Vancouver Canucks, Boston Bruins. Boston, minus 135 home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Got to do it, Alex. I'm not turning down the Vancouver Canucks at a plus price. I will say that I will scream that from the heavens for the rest of the season. Whenever Vancouver's a plus price, it's a bet for me. And I actually did get in small on Vancouver, even with my reservations about, the spot with them, so many Canucks involved in the All-Star game, but no problem at all for them getting the job done against Carolina. And that's a Hurricanes team that was playing pretty well themselves as well going into that game. So a nice 3-2 road win for the Vancouver Canucks. To me, you give them this price, I'm interested and I'm on it. So I like Vancouver plus 115 in this game. I will say this, though. The one concern is I would have really preferred Boston beat Calgary the other night rather than Calgary beat Boston, because I think Boston off a loss means they'll be ready for this game. I'm sure they'll play well, but playing well doesn't mean they're going to win. Vancouver's coming into this game with a point to prove as well. Both of these teams are going to be ready for this game. This isn't we're betting one side over the other because of a lack of motivation for one side. That's not going to be the case here. Both of these teams know the other team is a good team, and I think definitely you're going to see both teams play well here tonight in this game. The more I start to look, though, at these two teams and the way they stack up right now, I think Vancouver's roster, especially up front's a little bit better, in my opinion, than Boston's. I mean, Boston, with all due respect, with Marchand and Pasternak, and what they can do up front with those guys, the veterans, and Pavel Zacha, DeBrusk, Coyle. I really love what Vancouver's got up front, even more at the moment. With the addition of Elias Lindholm, who, of course, what a debut, 2 goals in his first game with the Vancouver Canucks against his old team. You put him with Pedersen and JT Miller and Brock Besser. I think Vancouver's gotten a lot more from their bottom 6 consistently than the Boston Bruins have, no question. So I think that could be the difference here in a game like this, that I think Vancouver can get a little more pop offensively from the third and the fourth line right now compared to Boston. And you know what's scary for Vancouver is that Carson Soucy, who was supposed to be a very key addition to this blue line, hasn't played in a very long time. Wait till they get him back, strengthen that blue line even more. You've got Thatcher Demko confirmed to be in net for the Vancouver Canucks tonight. We actually don't have a confirmation yet for Boston. Swayman got the start against Calgary. Of course, they ended up losing that game. There are some sites projecting Linus Ullmark tonight for Boston, but we have not seen that confirmed just yet. Either way, I like Vancouver, but that's not all. I like both teams to score in the first period in this game, and I like first period over as well. I think it's going to be one of those games like we saw with Vancouver, Carolina on Tuesday night, 1-1 after the first period. So first period over hit, both teams to score in the first period hit as well in that game. So I think you go right back to the well with that here tonight with the Canucks and the Bruins. So it's 3 bets for me in this one. Vancouver plus 115, Vancouver Boston over 1.5 in the first period, and also Vancouver Boston, both teams to score in the first period. Also, I think worth a look here in this game. I think very similar. I think it's very plausible to see 1-1 opening period here between these two teams. We got Alex back here as the internet gremlins are out in full force, and he doesn't look happy at all about it. Alex, what do you think here, Vancouver, Boston?
Yeah, I wanted to hear what you had to say about this game because this is a really fucking good game. But yeah, Vancouver plus money. I bet that yesterday. We were talking about that. Actually, we got off the air yesterday, but like I said, at a plus price, this is a team that we have to be on right now. And Boston's been a little bit shaky. We think they're going the round in the form, but in this spot, this spot screams Vancouver to me. But I also like the first period over 1.5. I laid $1.25 with that. I would take a smaller shot with both teams to score, and I would take a smaller shot with the draw as well. I could possibly see this one being kind of close, but that's not my favorite bet in this. I do think Vancouver gets the win here, but it should be a back and forth battle. It should be a really good game, and I would take even a sprinkle with the over at 6-2. So it's something I'm probably going to grab more in game. I don't think we're going to have a goal right away. I think we'll have time to maybe get a 5.5. I'm willing to lay a little bit more juice on 5.5 than go 6 minus $1.10 in this spot. So that's the way I'm going to play that. So Vancouver, as far as pregame goes, first period over, first period both teams to score, and Vancouver money line.
Yeah, that's exactly what I like, those 3 bets. I mean, I lean full game over as well, but I honestly don't like that as much because Calgary-Boston, we saw first period over, full game under, and I could see it slowing down a little bit in this game as it progresses. So this is definitely one where I definitely gravitate more toward goals early in the game rather than goals throughout the game here tonight with the Canucks and the Bruins. But it's a hell of a game. Elias Lindholm, what can you say? I mean, we talked about the fact that coming into Vancouver before the trade occurred, Lindholm only had nine goals on the season. And sure enough, he gets 2 in his Vancouver debut Tuesday night against Carolina. So, maybe you ride the wave here. Maybe it's going to be a new team, new outlook, fresh perspective, if you will, for Elias Lindholm, and that's going to get his offense going again because, to be honest, that's the only fault he's had this season. We know he's good on faceoffs. We know he's good defensively. He's going to do all those little things to help you win. But the one thing you could have, quibbled about Elias Lindholm's season so far is the lack of goal production for a guy that has had a 40-goal season previously in the NHL. But suddenly he scores 2 goals in his first game with the Canucks. So if you want to ride that wave, I wouldn't talk anyone out of that as far as props involving Lindholm here tonight and for the Vancouver Canucks in this game. On the Boston side, their lineups remained pretty steady, pretty stand pat, if you will. I still think the value currently is DeBrusk playing with Coyle and Marchand on that top line. He'd be the player I'd be most interested in targeting on the Bruins side for this massive, titanic matchup tonight between Vancouver and Boston. All right, next up, Winnipeg Jets and the Philadelphia Flyers. Lots of Philly money coming in here in this game because this price opened as high as minus 145 to minus 150 on the Winnipeg Jets. And now we're seeing it down to as low as minus 130 on the Winnipeg Jets. Even minus 125, is starting to show up at multiple books. So a pretty sizable move here toward the Flyers. 5.5 the total here in this game. And probably some of that is the goaltending announcement for Winnipeg. Although I keep saying this about Laurent Brossoit. He is a very capable netminder. We got to stop treating him like he's, going to go in there and it's an automatic loss for the Winnipeg Jets because I think that couldn't be further from the truth. His numbers are very solid in a backup role for the Jets this year. Do you really want to just go heavy against, fading Winnipeg with Brossoit and net when you see these numbers? 7-3, 2.07 goals against average, and a .926 save percentage this season for Laurent Brossoit in net. The last time we saw him, he deserved a better fate. It was the first of the 2 games back-to-back against the Toronto Maple Leafs before the All-Star break. It was the game in Toronto, the game that the Leafs won 1-0 in overtime. The game was scoreless after regulation. Brossoit played a great game. Excellent. You couldn't have asked for much more from him in that game. So, you look at this spot here, and Brossoit, I don't mind him at all whatsoever. And, for Philadelphia, I was telling people the other day, be careful of that spot in Florida with the Panthers because, sometimes the All-Star break occurs, and when it's a team that's rolling going into the break, Oftentimes coming out of the break, they can get tripped up. The rhythm and the momentum is disrupted. And similarly, a team that struggles going into the All-Star break and that first game coming out of the break, that team often can use the break as a hit the reset button, recharge the batteries type of situation, and come out really strong and play a better game. And that's exactly what we saw from the Flyers, in that win against Florida. And there's no fluke to it. They actually outplayed Florida much of that game, outshot them, totally shut down the Panthers in the third period while they were protecting that 2-1 lead. So there was nothing at all fluky or fraudulent about Philadelphia's victory Tuesday night against the Florida Panthers. That being said, you would have told me that a few weeks ago, Winnipeg's only $1.25 to $1.30 in this spot. I'd be very, very interested in Winnipeg, and I do like Winnipeg here. I think it is a devalued Winnipeg team right now. Look, maybe this is going to be a long funk for them. Maybe because the one thing the Jets have avoided this year is a lengthy losing streak. They're now in the midst of their longest losing streak of the season. They've lost 4 straight. But you look at this schedule, and the Pittsburgh game, that's not a great loss because Pittsburgh's not really been anything special. But Pittsburgh's got a sense of urgency and desperation that maybe Winnipeg, to me, when it looked like to me watching that game, Winnipeg was not matching the intensity and desperation level and urgency level of Pittsburgh. And then once Dylan got that, 5-minute major, that was pretty much all she wrote at that moment for the Winnipeg Jets in that game. So they lost that game, and the other 3 losses were 2 to Toronto and Boston. So it's not like the sky is falling, or you're losing to San Jose, or you're losing to Chicago, or you're losing to Anaheim, or teams like that. You're losing to pretty good hockey teams. Pittsburgh game notwithstanding. I don't think we push the panic button yet, but I think if I'm Winnipeg and I'm coming off a very rare shutout loss, because they haven't been shut out very often, I know we've got to fix this and try to get back on track sooner rather than later. We don't want this to spiral. Of course, Brendan Dillon's actions against Pittsburgh not only got him tossed and ejected from that game, but it also got him a 3-game suspension. So he will not play tonight. He'll also miss the next 2 games for Winnipeg. But you have a very capable veteran defenseman like Nate Schmidt who can come into the lineup. He's capable. He's been around the block, Washington, Vegas. That guy can play still. It's not the end of the world with Dillon out. Yeah, you miss the physical presence, but one thing you don't miss with Dillon, and Dillon's had an issue with this lately, some really too many penalties he's been taking. And of course, that was just an awful penalty that he took in the game earlier this week against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, we'll see how it goes here, but I think this is a cheap price on Winnipeg. I'm not buying it just yet that Philly beat Florida. Now they're going to start to go on this big-time win streak just yet. I got to see it before I believe it. And actually, this is also a revenge spot for the Winnipeg Jets. They lost at home to the Philadelphia Flyers back on January the 13th. It was a 2-0 Flyer victory in Winnipeg. Sam Ersson with the 35-save shutout. Naturally, he'll be in net tonight for the Flyers, but I like Winnipeg here. I think this is a bounce-back situation. They haven't been shut out very much this year. And like I said, Philly, they got their win against Florida. Let's see them do it again. I think the Jets up the ante tonight. I'm willing to take them here at a nice -125, -130 price. Alex is in and out, but he's back now. What do you think, Alex, here, Jets and Flyers?
Yeah, I try not to destroy everything in my apartment. I'm going with the draw here in this. This is a classic draw season spot. These are 2 teams, like I said, we saw with Winnipeg not giving, I won't say they were giving a shit in the last game, but they kind of they dogged it. Okay, they dogged it in a spot where I didn't think they would be, looking to dog it against a Pittsburgh team. Now playing Philly, a team that's trying to hold on to their playoff spot. This kind of seems like, the bottom's going to drop out with this Flyers team at some point. But I think they will be, they're going to be competitive every night. They'll be able to hang on and play close with certain teams. And this just feels like 2 teams that play each other close. And would kind of keep this thing kind of low and slow. That's why we're seeing a 5.5 total to start as well. So I like the draw here. I got it as high as +360.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I don't blame Alex for wanting to rage right now. You're trying to do a show, and now it picks this time to be acting up with internet and connection disruptions. I get that. I know that feeling. It can't. It wouldn't get me very happy either. It wouldn't make me very happy either. But, as far as props, I don't have a ton for this game. I do think this could be I definitely think Winnipeg is not a team I'm interested betting over the total right now. I will say that right now. This is a team that is playing some real tight checking hockey. It's really what Rick Bowness wants to see from this team. But you look at Winnipeg, they are 7. It looks like as far as the unders, 7-1 and 2 to the under in their last 10 games. So they've had 7 unders, 1 over, 2 pushes with totals for the Winnipeg Jets in their last 10 games. And Philly, they struggled defensively before the break, Alex, as we know, and that's why they were losing a lot of those games. They got back to the way Torts wants them to play. You got 2 coaches that want to see 2-1, 3-1 tonight in this game. So this is definitely one of those. This is definitely an Ian Cameron special. Lean under so it goes over. That's right. But not lately. There was one under. The last time I liked an under on this show, it did go under. I remember it. So that maybe that's going to be a thing of the past now where, we like, when we like an under, it actually will hit now. But I would certainly lean that way as far as this game is concerned, under the total. Not to mention the fact, too, that head-to-head, the under is 4-1 in the last 5 meetings between these two teams. So does feel like a lower scoring affair here, Jets and Flyers tonight, but I like Winnipeg. That's my only pregame look here in this one. All right, Calgary Flames and New Jersey Devils. New Jersey minus 135, home favorites. 6.5 the total here, shaded to the over in this game. And, of course, the big news here is the return of Jack Hughes for the New Jersey Devils. And you have to upgrade the Devils every time he returns to the lineup because we have data and we have games under the belt that prove time and time again that this team's record gets a lot better with Jack Hughes in the lineup. No question. Without him, the record isn't good. With him in the lineup, the record is much better. And, of course, he's back tonight for the New Jersey Devils, which is obviously enormous for them. That being said, New Jersey was able to win despite not having Jack Hughes in their first game coming out of the break. A nice 5-3 win against a very good Colorado Avalanche team. I was very impressed with the Devils in that game. Maybe not so impressed with Justus Onanen, which was probably part of the problem in that game for the New Jersey Devils. So, but they got the job done. What impressed me is no Hughes, but Dawson Mercer steps up, and they get a few goals from some unexpected sources in that game. And that's something that New Jersey has been lacking quite a bit when they've had Hughes and or Hischier out of the lineup. So we'll see how this one plays out. Calgary, on the other hand, look, Calgary with a very impressive game coming out of the break, beating Boston in Beantown, beating the Bruins 4-1. And a Calgary team that, they sure look to me like they're sellers or at least retooling a little bit, but they're not completely out of the playoff mix. They have to go on a run, but, they've won 2 in a row now. And I want to say this, too, about Calgary. Their road record this year hasn't been that terrible. They only have 1 win fewer on the road compared to at home. And we know this New Jersey team at home has had a mediocre record all season with that win against Colorado the other night, notwithstanding. This team is still only 11-13 on home ice this year, the New Jersey Devils. So this is a tough game for me from a side perspective. This is one where I would lean draw with the Flames and the Devils tonight because I have no strong opinion on the side. I do think it's a competitive game, though. Jacob Markstrom is in net for Calgary tonight. It'll be Vitek Vanacek again for New Jersey, which I don't trust, by the way, in this game. So I don't have much on the side in this game. Even with Hughes back and the fact the Devils are better with him in the lineup, I don't want to lay a $135 with this team. I just don't. So I would lean Calgary, but I don't feel strongly enough to take it. I like the draw. I'll sprinkle a bit on the draw. What I'm really liking in this game is the totals. And we're going to try to hit the same 3 bets we hit the other night between the Flames and the Devils, or not the Flames and the Devils, the Devils and the Avalanche, as I get my brain to function properly here. The Devils and the Avalanche the other night. We hit the first period over. We hit the first period, both teams to score, and we hit the full game over in that Devils Avalanche game in New Jersey the other night. And that's what I'm going back to the well with here. First period over, first period, both teams to score, and over 6.5 here with the Flames and the Devils here. And you can get that at around -110, -115 as far as the full game over. And I have a theory, too, about Calgary. I know the Boston game stayed under, but I think moving forward, look at the trade that just happened with the Vancouver Canucks. And plus, there's rumblings, too, that Tanev and or Hanifin might be in play for potential trades. But look at that Vancouver trade. Subtract Lindholm, add Kuzmenko, What do you think is going to happen? Do you think you're going to be a better offensive team or a better defensive team? I'll tell you the answer. You're going to be a better offensive team because Kuzmenko's issue is no defense from him. He doesn't back check. He's not diligent away from the puck. His effort level and his compete level away from the puck is what got him in trouble in Vancouver with Rick Tocchet. That's how this trade ended up happening. Kuzmenko's not a great defensive forward. Now, he's a great offensive player, and we saw that scoring in his Calgary debut in the win against Boston, but he is a liability defensively. And I think when you look at it, with Lindholm gone, that's a huge defensive force for Calgary out of the lineup, and you bring in Kuzmenko, you add some offense, but you subtract some defense. That's the way I see it. So I could actually see the Flames playing some overs moving forward because they've got the offense now. They've got all these young guys like Kuzmenko and Connor Zary, and they just re-signed Martin Pospisil, to a extension yesterday. Of course, they've got Sharon Govich, and I like Sharon Govich tonight, former New Jersey Devil against his old team. I think Kuzmenko, too, for props. I like Zary scored the other night as well, and don't sleep on Coleman, who was pretty good during the break. Peltier's back, a good young kid with offensive upside. Huberdeau, has actually started to percolate again the last couple of games. So I really think this Calgary team, Alex, they're going to take on this kind of profile, if you will, of being able to score goals in bunches. Not always a team that's going to be able to keep the puck out of their own net either, though, on a consistent basis. So, like I said, I'm going to sprinkle on the draw, but the primary bets that I like here, first period over, first period both teams to score, and full game over 6.5. Alex, what do you think here? Flames, Devils.
Yeah, the full game over, I'm a little iffy with, but I agree with you. We'll be looking at overs with Calgary, especially once Hannafin and Tanev get moved. This is definitely going to be a team that'll be trending in that direction. But I could just see where maybe 6.5 is a little steep here. I could see this one maybe being like a kind of a 4-1, 4-2 kind of a game. I like goals early. I like the first period over. I like both teams to score. But I may be looking at, if this gets up, let's say 2-1 after 20, I might look for an under at 8.5. Laying a little bit of juice here. I can see where maybe this kind of slows down a little bit with the pace. These are two teams that, like I said, they are on the outside of their wild card spots. I could see where, things where if they have a lead, they kind of would want to sit back and try to be a bit more defensive and a little more conservative with their attacking approach. So that's the way I kind of look at it. First period over, first period both teams score, and maybe a live underlook coming back if we get a lot of goals early.
All right, there we go. Good stuff indeed. And like I said, there's some good props as well. Like I said, especially on the Calgary side with Sharon Govich against his old team sticks out like a sore thumb. There's no question. Toffoli, is he going to play is the big question. We know he missed the game the other night against the Colorado Avalanche. It looks like he's back. So there you go. There's another former team player prop angle there involving Tyler Toffoli against his old team. I like Dawson Mercer again, too. For the New Jersey Devils. You talk about someone that is answering the bell, with Hughes out, someone that, even though Hughes is back now, he has been playing well lately for the Devils, and he was a second half player last year. If you remember, it was the second half of the season, post All-Star break, a year ago when Dawson Mercer really started to heat up and take off for this team and really start to produce in bunches offensively. So, yeah, Dawson Mercer, he scored one of their goals the other night in the win against Colorado. Definitely think his prop's worth a look here tonight as well. All right, let's move along here. Washington and Florida. We've got the Florida Panthers minus 260 home favorites, 6 being the total in this game. Well, I was worried, of course, as you know, about Florida in that first game out of the break. They were playing well, really well going into the break. Break kind of disrupted that rhythm and that momentum for the Panthers, and they kind of fell into it. Meanwhile, you had a Philly team that was really disappointed with their performance going into the break, and you just had an urgent Philadelphia team and a Florida team that really didn't play their best game. They were lethargic most of the night. They were well-deserving, Philly winning that game 2-1. They outshot the Panthers 25-21 in that game. I do think, though, this is a perfect get-right spot here for the Florida Panthers. They've beaten Washington 7 straight times going into this game. This is also, Washington, a team that we saw out of the break. They looked pretty bad against Montreal, 5-2 in that game. Charlie Lindgren is starting to slip. His play early in the but credit to him. I mean, for the most part, he's had a great season, but just lately, you're starting to see him regress and come back down to earth a little bit. in net for the Capitals, and not at all a surprise to see Spencer Carberry give the net back to Darcy Kemper to see if Kemper can finally, get on some kind of a run here in going into this game. But right now, this Washington team is not in good form at this point in time. They've lost. Looks like Washington's lost 5 in a row, dating back to before the break. And some of these losses aren't to the best of teams. I mean, St. Louis is okay. Minnesota's been struggling. Colorado, Dallas, Montreal, of course, coming out of the break is a bad loss. Not only to lose, but lose 5-2 like that. No question. So it's not a Washington team I trust. I think the Panthers, will be looking to put a better foot forward here tonight. The question is, how do you want to go about it? I'm going to sprinkle on the first period puck line for Florida and the full game. And I don't do many full game puck lines, but I'm going to do one here at around plus 100 even money here. Plus 100 with the Panthers. A little bit on that first period puck line with Florida as well. Just small bets on those two puck lines with the Panthers. The primary bet for me is going to be the team total. Over 3.5 for the Florida Panthers here in this game. So we're keeping the puck line bet small. I'm going to take a little Florida -0.5, plus 126 first period. A little full game puck line -1.5, plus 100. But most of the stake is going to be on Florida team total. Over 3.5 available at -126 here in this matchup between the Capitals and the Panthers tonight. Washington, by the way, 4 straight overs for them. In the series history, Florida and Washington 5-1 to the over in the last 6 games. And we've seen a lot of 5-3, 4-3, 5-2, 6-3, 4-3. So I might grab a little piece of that over 6 here as well with the Caps and the Panthers tonight as well. Don't like it as much as the Florida angles, but I will sprinkle on the over 6 here as well based on that. And again, Washington trending over because, look, finally the goaltending and defense that we knew was going to regress for this squad at some point, it finally is happening to them in recent games. I mean, everyone's lighting up this Capitals team here in the last few games. What do you think here, Alex? Washington, Florida.
Yeah, this is one of those spots I'll have to do it later because I can't do anything right now. But I'm gonna parlay. I'm gonna look for Sam Reinhart anytime goal with Florida regulation and see if that knocks that down to a price that's within range. I would love to enter that in now and see if that's something worth betting, but I can't do that. So Florida team total overs is the other play that I do like in this spot. But I think that's, and somebody mentioned in the chat looking at Reinhart anytime goal. That's a good way to kind of maybe knock down some of these big favorites in the second half. How often is there going to be a game where Florida wins without Reinhart getting a goal right now? So to have that kind of looking at some of those players that where it's not a bargain bin value, it's just kind of a regular standard. Either you're laying a price or you're getting just a short plus price, but tie that in with something that's a little bit heavier like regulation or a money line and maybe knock that price down. So it's something, I may not do that too often, but I like that in this particular spot. So Florida team total and a parlay with Reinhart and Panthers to regulation. If it's within a reasonable number, I'll post this on Twitter and clarify it. And of course in the Patreon as well.
Yeah, no question. We did see an Ovi goal, though, the other night for the Washington Capitals as Ovechkin, not the season that a lot of people expected, 10 goals for him, but he has scored in back-to-back games. Don't look now. Back-to-back games with a goal for Ovi against Dallas before the break and against Montreal. He got one of the 2 goals for the Capitals the other night. So is this a time we buy low on Alexander Ovechkin, the grade 8 for the Capitals right now as he tries to heat up for what feels like the first time all season as far as goal production is concerned? Plus 220 is the best price out there. It still feels like for a guy that's only got 10 goals on the season, plus 220, he should be a bargain bin man right now, man, with 10 goals at this stage of the season. Ovechkin should be like plus 380 or something like that, but he's Ovechkin. So because he's a name brand commodity, you're honestly getting, you're not getting a good price at all with Alex Ovechkin. Doesn't it feel that way, Alex? 10 goals on the season. He's only plus 220 to score a goal.
Well, we said that too at the beginning of the year when he kind of started off with the slump. It's like we were waiting, like, Mel, maybe we get lucky with him being a bargain bin selection at some point, but probably not because of his name. Yep. So he's grossly, think about it. We never bet his goal prop anytime anyway, because it's just so overpriced, right? When he's hot, you're laying $1.20, $1.30 for him to score. So his number has never been of true value ever. And even now, as he's struggling, yeah, he should be 380. A guy with 10 goals, anybody else in that spot would be 300, 400.
Yeah.
But because he's Ovechkin, no, they won't give you that value.
No, it's exactly it. Yep, it's exactly it, because this is going to be a guy that's knocking on the door of Wayne Gretzky's record, greatest goal scorer in NHL history, or one of them as of right now. They're not going to make him that price. Even he could have 2 goals at this stage of the season. He'd probably still be around this price as far as scoring a goal with his player prop on a game-to-game basis. So just interesting to see that. Yeah, I mean, for Florida, I mean, it's just, Reinhart obviously has been just incredible this season. He's almost been scoring in every game, it feels like, for them. But don't sleep on all of a sudden, Bennett and Matthew Tkachuk was starting to get better get going before the break. Carter Verhaeghe as well. So all of a sudden, some of the other Panthers forwards stepping up. Verhaeghe in particular. I think Verhaeghe's probably worth a look for Florida. This is a guy that can be a streaky offensive player as well for the Panthers. But you look at what he's been doing. He's been a point machine lately. 3, 5, 6, 7 points in the last 5 games from him. So I think it's probably going to be a good second half of the season, if you ask me, for Carter Verhaeghe here for the Florida Panthers in the second half of the season.
And I just want to say too, and thanks to everybody in the chat for posting it. So I'm seeing people saying between 140 to as high as 170, 190 for that regulation with the Reinhart goal. So it'll be somewhere in that range. Once I put the bet in, and I'll have that official. But anywhere in that range, whatever book you have, that 140 to 190 range is totally fine. So I definitely endorse that. That will be a play on my card. Reinhart goal tied with Florida to win the regulation.
Yeah, the look for Rich on Tkachuk and Verhaeghe, 2 points or each makes sense too. Again, like I said, these are 2 players that you knew. Tkachuk especially, broken sternum, give him time to get going, and he's starting to go right now for the Panthers. 4 goals in the last 5 games, and if you go back to the January 19th game against Minnesota, span of 6 games, he has 6, 7, 9 points for the Panthers in the last 6 games. So Matt Tkachuk really starting to find his stride again. All right, Colorado, Carolina. By the way, it's Kemper and Bobrovsky, the goalies there. Colorado and Carolina. We've got the Hurricanes minus 135, home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. This is another great matchup here on this Thursday night card. Carolina looking to bounce back. I thought they played well enough to win, but close game. It's just going to be one play there, one goal there, one save there, and one play not made by, as far as a save is concerned, by Kochetkov in that game, and that was the difference. A 3-2 win for the Canucks against the Hurricanes. It was a very solid defensive game both ways. Shots on goal were 24-19 in favor of Carolina in that game. So both teams really tight checking in that matchup. We'll see if Carolina can bounce back here at home against Colorado. Avalanche have lost 2 straight out of the break on this road trip. 2-1 in overtime to the Rangers, and then they lost on the back-to-back in New Jersey, 5-3 against the Devils. I thought they played well enough to win both games, but, didn't have the offense. Quick was very good in net for the Rangers, and I don't think Justus Onanen in particular was great in the New Jersey game. As we mentioned after that game ended, still a work in progress in terms of his level of play at the NHL level. It looks like tonight, no goalies confirmed for this game yet, but projections are Alexander Georgiev for Colorado and once again Pyotr Kochetkov here for the Carolina Hurricanes in this game. This is an interesting one, though. You got Carolina looking to avoid back-to-back home losses. And I know just off the top of my head, they have not lost back-to-back at home games very often. And then you look at this Colorado team. I don't know. I mean, I don't really want to bet against them off 2 losses in a row. But the road record continues to be very ordinary for the Avs. And, that's a little bit of an issue that they've had. They're 20-5 at Ball Arena. They're just 12-14 on the road. 2 below 500. Away from home this season for the Colorado Avalanche. So, it's one of these deals where you got Carolina off a loss, don't really want to fade them, especially now with Kochetkov back. Alex and I have talked about this repeatedly. We both think way more highly of Kochetkov right now than Ronta or any other goalie for the Hurricanes. And on the flip side, even with their road struggles, I'm not rushing to lay a price against Colorado off 2 straight losses. You think they're going to bring a pretty good effort here. So it would be draw for me if I'm going to get involved in this game with the Avs and the Hurricanes. I'll probably sprinkle on that. As far as the total goes, 4 straight unders for Carolina. And now with Kochetkov back, you could see some tighter hockey between these 2 teams. And it is worth noting here in the series history, 8-2 to the under. We have only seen 2 games go over the total in the last 10 meetings between the Avs and the Hurricanes. And both of those overs came in Denver, in Colorado. The games in Carolina, 3-2, 2-0, 3-2, 3-1, 3-1. I mean, all unders. So I'm pumping the brakes on over here because of that. And Georgiev in net. Georgiev was excellent in the All-Star weekend. I want to say that. He played well enough in the Ranger game. He only gave up 2 goals. There's nothing wrong with the way he played there. Obviously, we think better of the Carolina goaltending situation with Pyotr Kochetkov in net. So wouldn't surprise me to see this actually be a bit of a lower scoring affair. But I'm not on the total. I'm not on a side, just the draw for me. Alex, great matchup, though. What do you think here? Avs, Canes.
Yeah, this is a good matchup, and like you said, this is one of those draw season candidates. 2 teams cross conference. They don't really care about what the other one does. They want to just get their own points. Like I said, this is a kind of a lower scoring series, so I like the draw here, but I like the first period over. I think we see goals early in this contest, and then we see things kind of slow down a little bit. So that's why at $1.40, and Carolina's been one of those teams that's been hot to the first period over. Up and down for most of the season. I'm willing to take a shot with that first period over, and maybe this is another game where I look at a live under. But I definitely feel like the pace slows down, certainly in the third period if it's close. And this is a good game to have the draw in pocket.
Yeah, no doubt. I would say if you're going to look at an over pregame, first period makes a little more sense because Carolina's kind of been in this pattern lately where you will see sometimes 2 goals in that opening stanza, and then after that it just slows down. We saw it in the Vancouver game, of course, the other night, Vancouver, Carolina. Colorado, New Jersey, we saw first period over. Now, that one did go over in the full game, but again, that's a much different situation. Lot more pace, loose defense both ways in that game. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case here with the Avs and the Hurricanes here tonight in this game. As far as the prop market goes, I've talked about this a lot with Colorado, but, for as much as Rantanen and McKinnon have been awesome, I mean, I'm never going to say, to take McKinnon every night because you just don't get any value. But finally, his goal streak and his point streak got snapped, believe it or not, in that 5-3 loss to New Jersey. He had a 14-game point streak going into that game. It got snapped. He was pretty quiet. Well, 4 shots on goal, but the fact he was held off the score sheet doesn't happen very often. So usually when that happens, McKinnon has a better night. So again, the value is never great with his props, but makes sense in terms of situationally that after a quiet game, he'd be looking to bounce back. Miles Wood, Colton, and O'Connor, that second line, I think that's where the value lies with the Avs props right now, the Avs props with that second line. And then for Carolina, you go a bunch of different ways. I like what I'm seeing from Natchez. Jordan Martinook, who I actually took for a goal prop against Carolina, against Vancouver. And he got on the board for them, although he was moved up to the top line that game. I don't know if that's going to be the case here tonight. It looks like Rod Brindamore shuffling him back down to the third line with Stahl and Fost, Seth Jarvis, Aho, and Teuvo Teravainen expected to be the top line here tonight for the Hurricanes. Michael Bunting, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Marty Natchez, the second line here for Carolina. So that's what I thought made the Martinook prop all that more appealing the other night because he was bumped up to the top unit. Tonight, not so much, but still getting good value. I don't hate it. Looking maybe at Martinook once again for Carolina tonight in this game. All right, we've got 2 games left. Next up, it's the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the New York Islanders. We've got the Islanders minus 135 home favorites in this game. Total sitting at 6.5, shaded to the under between these 2 teams. You look at this Tampa Bay team, and it feels like a broken fucking record at this point. Talking about the road problems and talking about the road issues with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And, it's been a season-long issue for Tampa Bay. Their inability, to win games and beat good teams on the road. Not only are they 10-16 on the road this season, the Lightning, but they rarely beat good teams on the road. I mean, you start to look at this road record. Their last 2 road wins, I mean, they lose to Detroit, they lose to the Rangers on the road. Their last 2 road wins were at Philly when Philly was struggling and reeling at the time, and Buffalo. Now, those are the only 2 road wins the Tampa Bay Lightning have had recently going into this. So It's just very, very unfortunate, to see what we've seen here from this Tampa Bay Lightning team away from home. They're on a back-to-back, obviously, after losing to the New York Rangers last night, 3-1. They'll be looking to bounce back here. Rest advantage, obviously, for the New York Islanders here in this game against the Lightning. It looks like, as far as goaltending is concerned, because this is a back-to-back situation, we're going to see Jonas Johansson tonight, more than likely. That hasn't been confirmed, but you would expect that to be the case. Sorokin should be in for the Islanders. Not confirmed, but we expect Sorokin. I expect Double J, Jonas Johansson, to be in net for the Tampa Bay Lightning here tonight in this game. And by the way, our thoughts and well wishes to Mikhail Sergachev. And that was heartbreaking to hear the emotion and read the emotion in his social media post after just a debilitating injury that he suffered last night in that loss to the New York Rangers. And this is a guy that, as we know, has had all kinds of issues staying healthy the last year or two. And once again, he had to be stretchered off the ice, left leg injury, and you could see it in his voice, in his face, as he was being wheeled off the ice there, just how devastating it is. And this guy just recently returned from a 17-game absence, and here he is, on the hit from Lafreniere, stretchered off the ice. It certainly looks like it's going to be a long-term injury again, and you hate to see it. It's just absolutely unfortunate, and I can only imagine the pain that this guy's feeling inside emotionally, because I just worked my buns off and keister off and to get back and in the lineup and on the ice after being out for a long period of time. And my fucking first game back, are you shitting me? Like, who the hell hates me? What gods upstairs hate me that much? That's kind of the emotions he was outpouring when he made that post on social media. Like, how could this happen to me? It's so unfortunate because he's such a good player. He's a very good defenseman. He's blossomed in Tampa Bay when they got him from Montreal years ago. Just heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching to see that for the guy. So Mikhail Sergachev, we certainly wish him well. And you got to wonder, too, was there a lingering emotional hangover effect for the squad seeing that? I mean, he's just he's their next best defenseman outside of Hedman. It's not even debatable on that Tampa Bay Lightning team. And to see that happen to Sergachev last night, it definitely sends the dressing room, in a bit of a wow. I can't believe it. A bit of a state of shock that he's suffered another significant long-term injury once again after just coming back. So I actually like the Islanders here. I'm going to take them minus 130, minus 135 in this game. I don't normally lay a price with the Islanders, but if they're going to go on a run, I think it might be now. I liked a lot of what I saw from them against Toronto the other night when they beat the Leafs 3-2. I thought Sorokin played one of his better games in net, and there is a big-time goalie edge right now in this game. You give me Johansson versus Sorokin. Right now that's an advantage for the Islanders, no question about that. Johansson gave them some good starts, good reps, good performances early in the season. Hasn't necessarily been the same way here as of late for this Lightning team. 3.34 goals against average, .894 save percentage on the season for him. And now on a back-to-back, Sergachev's out again, which means there's more shuffling going on for Cooper on the blue line. It looks like tonight with Sergachev out again, looks like they're gonna bring this kid Emil Martinson Lilleberg into the lineup tonight for the Tampa Bay. Well, actually, he was in the other night. It looks like it's probably going to be, if I look at it's probably going to be Dahan, right? Dahan was probably the guy that wasn't in. Yeah, Dahan was the guy that came out when Sergachev came back in. So Calvin Dahan will come back into the lineup tonight for the Tampa Bay Lightning. But, the Islanders need to make a run. Like, if they're going to be serious about trying to make it into the wild card in the East, they got to put a run together, put a streak together. They haven't exactly been taking off yet under Patrick Waugh, but I saw signs in that Toronto game that maybe they're capable. Maybe not so much against the better teams and the teams that are in better spots, but here you have Tampa Bay, been awful on the road. They're on a back-to-back right now. It's an opportunity for the Islanders to build on some of that momentum they gained from the win against Toronto the other night. So I am going to be on the Islanders here, minus 135 in this game. I'm going to sprinkle on the draw, too, just because it is the Islanders after all. But you got to admit, the draw with the Islanders has tapered off here in recent games. That being said, I'll still sprinkle on it with a little bit more on the Islanders than the draw for me. Alex, what do you think here? Tampa Bay, New York Islanders.
Yeah, I like the draw in this spot. And this isn't just, like you said, because it's the talent. I like the draw because of just the situation. These are two teams that, like I said, desperately need to get into some grooves. Tampa has to find a way to win on the road if they want to be a playoff team. It's not etched in stone that they're going to be in the playoffs right now. And if they don't find ways to win these kind of games, they're in deep trouble. And I don't think they're going to win this game. I like the Islanders in this spot, but I'm not betting it pregame. I'm actually waiting live. I think we can get Tampa to get a goal. I might even bet Tampa to score first goal and then come and grab Islanders plus money, because laying $1.35, and that's not a terrible price. It's certainly fine, and considering the spots, and definitely considering the goaltending matchup, Johansson against Sorokin. But I think we will get some pushback from Tampa early. I just don't see where Tampa can hang around in these road games, unless the Islanders, they're the kind of team that lets you hang around the game. So that's what better teams will beat Tampa Bay in this spot, especially with Johansson. But I don't trust the Islanders to just put this team, away and win 5-2. I don't see a pull away from this Isles team right now, even with Waugh. They're, like I said, super, back to reverting to what we saw in the Trotz era, almost the way that they're responding defensively. And we talk about that all the time, about how sometimes that offense can kind of fall a little bit short. So I don't see a lot of goals here. I might take a shot with under 6.5 and maybe grab that at a better pricing game. Maybe look for something right at the cusp of 5.5 or 6 even. And then I'm going to go with the draw here. That's the only thing I have pregame. Everything else I'm kind of looking at for some live setups here, because it's going to be a good back and forth battle, good physical battle. But I think Tampa could get a goal early, and I think we could look for the Islanders at a better price, and they find a way to win this game in overtime or a shootout.
All right, interesting. I like it. Interesting approach, interesting strategy there for this game. I'm torn on the total. I want to bet when Johansson's in net, and he likely will be, I want to bet overs. But I'm not rushing to bet the Islanders over right now. They've been trending under significantly since Patrick Watt took over behind the bench. And they are playing his message to the team from day one, Alex, has been, we got to play better in our own zone. And we got to get back to playing better in our own end. And he's been worried more about the defensive side of the puck and his goaltending, working with Varlamov and with Sorokin, than he's been concerned about the offense and the goal scoring. And it's shown. The Islanders, since the coaching change, there's been 5 games with Waugh behind the bench, 4-1 to the under in the 5 games. So that proves it right there. All right, final game of this Thursday card, Vegas and Arizona. A lot of love for the Desert Dogs here in this game, because Vegas opened minus 160 as road favorites here in this game. They are as low as minus 135 now here in this game at the Mullet in Tempe, and the total currently sitting at 6 in this, 5.5, I should say, with the Golden Knights and the Coyotes. Vegas, a huge, monstrous win for them the other night, ending the 16-game win streak of the Edmonton Oilers with a huge victory against the Oilers the other night. And that meant something to them, taking down the Oilers, ending their shot at history with that victory. So there is that small little letdown factor that I worry about just a little bit here for Vegas, coming off that win, taking on Arizona. But you look at the situation for the Coyotes. They have not played a game since January 27th, and this is the longest layoff that any NHL team has had since before the All-Star break. So it has been a long time since Arizona's played a game, and I'm not comfortable trusting them necessarily here with that kind of a long layoff following, including the All-Star break, and then that 1 week bye week that they had as well before the All-Star break. So you're talking about nearly 2 full weeks of inactivity since they played a game for this Coyotes team. That is a long, extended hiatus. And that's not one where I'm necessarily expecting the team to be all that crisp, all that sharp going into it. I'm waiting to see if Aiden Hill is confirmed, but I have not seen it yet. Most websites and everything I've read from the Vegas local reporters and scribes, nobody has confirmed a goalie for them yet. We think it's Aiden Hill. Why wouldn't it be? He's healthy. He's your number one goalie. He's playing his old team. There's no back-to-back for Vegas tomorrow night. Why wouldn't you play Aiden Hill tomorrow night? But tonight, I should say, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. If it is Aiden Hill, I'll be interested in taking Vegas, even with my concerns about the spot, coming off the huge win and ending Edmonton's shot at history. I still think if you're Vegas, you look at the way they've played. They've won 3 of their last 4. They're starting to get healthier again. They got Wild Bill, William Karlsson back against Edmonton, first game after the All-Star break. I know they're still missing some key players like Eichel and Will Carrier, and Shea Theodore is still out, Dorofeev as well, but they're still starting to get healthier, and this is just way too long of a period of time not playing an NHL game for the Arizona Coyotes for me to want to back them. It's just way too long of a layoff. Vegas has a game under their belt. You would think that's got to be a little bit of an advantage for them. So if Aiden Hill's confirmed in net for Vegas, I'll probably take a small piece of Vegas here, minus 135. If he's not in net, I would probably lay off the Vegas side at that point. What do you think here in this one, Alex? Vegas, Arizona.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, it's a pass if it's not Aiden Hill. And if it is Aiden Hill, I'll lead the $1.35. He's never played against the Arizona Coyotes. He spent 4 years there. That was the team that drafted him. But he's never gotten a chance to play against them. So that's an angle that we often look at, and it hasn't come to fruition with Hill yet. So we hope it comes to fruition tonight, and then we jump in on it. But if it's not, then this is kind of a game I'm just going to let pass. That's a fishy line to have. And like you said, that spot, I would be concerned about Vegas laying an egg off of that Edmonton spot if this is 2 weeks later. But the fact that you just came out of the break, like, how do you lay an egg at all and have a letdown spot out of any spot out of the break, even if you did end a team's record and beat a team you're supposed to beat, a division rival, mind you. So I don't buy that. I think that Vegas should win this game, but the only way I'm betting on it will be if it is Aiden Hill starting.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. Aiden Hill there, so being in net matters. And this is not throwing shade at Logan Thompson, because Logan Thompson, hey, at one time Logan Thompson was, the goalie for this team and playing great, but we just haven't seen that much from him. He's been way up and down for my liking. He's given up 10 goals in the last 2 starts that we've seen him as well, Logan Thompson. And, right now there is a bit of a difference with him and Aiden Hill. That's just the way it is. And that's why I prefer Hill. And plus the angle of him playing his old team, that fires up any goalie playing their old team. And obviously he started his career, Aiden Hill, with the Arizona Coyotes. So that's what I'm waiting on to pounce on Vegas here. To bet Vegas is waiting on that goalie confirmation here in this game with the Golden Knights and the Coyotes. Great stuff. That is the Thursday card. We appreciate it very much. Shout out to everyone in the chat. 220 live viewers on YouTube. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. As always, make sure you are aware of the Patreon page, patreon.com/iceguys. Just $10 per month. Our daily sides, totals, player props posted there each and every day. Goalie charts, totals charts, and more bonus content. We've got 2 videos we did over the All-Star break. We're going to be bringing a Q&A video to you on Patreon exclusively for members in the near future. And we are going to decide by tomorrow, Alex and I, tomorrow is going to be the day we decide, D-Day, if you will, the dates of the 3 other betcasts for the month of February. And 2 of them will be Patreon exclusive. There'll be 4 betcasts this month. 2 that are public, free for all, 2 that are Patreon exclusive. So we'll determine those dates tomorrow. And of course, the 2 betcasts that are Patreon exclusive, you can only watch them and join us on the stream by being a Patreon member. So sign up, $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys. And again, your $10 per month will help to ensure the show goes long term for many years to come. So check it out. Sign up, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. And one of the 4 betcasts this month is this Saturday, our Super Saturday, Super Bowl weekend live betcast, February 10th, this Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, which is going to be when the Colorado-Florida game begins on a Saturday. We're very much looking forward to that. Again, DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast on Saturday, and we'll make sure we send you the StreamYard link for the betcast before it begins. So that's 6 p.m. Eastern time, Saturday, February the 10th. That Super Bowl weekend, Super Saturday live betcast. And of course, make sure you check out the store as well. Get your Ice Guys gear and your merch available now at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yeah, definitely check out the store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. I think there is a sale special coming over the weekend, so that will be posted and stuff on the Twitter page as well. Also, limited edition shop, check that out as well. Also posted on our Twitter page at @_iceguys. So over there at X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And check out the main shop, iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
There you go, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, we'll get to bargain bin special of the night and best bets in just a moment. But first, time to hear from our official sponsor of the Ice Guys show, Boston Hemp Inc. All right, make sure you check them out. Boston Hemp Inc., our official sponsor for the Ice Guys show. Be sure to check out the quality products from our proud sponsor, Boston Hemp Inc., today, and use promo code Ice Guys to save 20% off all orders at bostonhempinc.com. All right, it is time for our bargain bin special of the night. In this one, 1 point from Brock Faber last night, but unfortunately not 2. Almost close, but not quite with Alex's bargain bin special. Mine really didn't do a whole lot last night. Nick Robertson, he was pretty quiet for Toronto, albeit in the winning effort against Dallas last night. Alex, what do you like tonight for your bargain bin special?
I don't have anything at the moment, of course, because of this whole internet outage, which, by the way, I don't know who this fucking clown Geo is, but it's an internet outage. Bills are fully paid. That being said, if you go on patreon.com/Ice Guys, I will have the bargain bin special listed there once I get to actually looking at the entire board for this particular prop. So I will have that coming later on over at Patreon.
Yeah, Gio, now's not the time to be needling Alex about the connection issues. And yeah, you can tell he's fed up. He's fucking pissed. Now's not the time to be bothering him about that. It is what it is. Nothing he can do at this moment. It's a building issue. All right, bargain bin special of the night for this card for me. Lots of good options here tonight on this slate. But let me just see what we've got available. There are a couple that really stand out here for me on this slate, but I'm just going to double check, make sure the price points are where they should be for the bargain bin special that I'm eyeing here in this game. I am going to go with, I'll tell you what, for bargain bin special tonight, and because of the fact that we're talking about someone that scored in his Vancouver debut, I think he's got a chance to do it tonight, and he's just enough at the threshold to make it to bargain bin status tonight. Elias Lindholm, Vancouver Canucks, plus 300. Right on the nose, just enough to make it there on the threshold of bargain bin status. So Canucks, Elias Lindholm, plus 300 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets to wrap it up. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Going to that game, Vancouver-Boston, that's really excited for that one. I think it's going to be fireworks early. I like the first period over 1.5, minus 25 with Canucks and Bruins. Should be a good one. That's my best bet for tonight.
All right, there we go. First period over. Vancouver, Boston. Best bet for Alex B. Smith here on this Thursday card. My best bet for this Thursday slate. Lots to choose from. A lot of good options here on this Thursday slate. I'm going to roll with the, let me see here. There's a lot of good ones here. I'm going to go with those Winnipeg Jets, minus 125 against Philly. I think tonight's the night they snap out of it. Revenge spot for losing at home to the Flyers. Credit to the Flyers for having that good game out of the break against a very good Florida team. But I'm going to need to see it again from them. I think the Jets, after they haven't been shut out very often this year. And after that 3-0 loss to the Penguins, I think you get a response. I don't mind Brossoit being in net at all. He is a very capable goaltender. I think Winnipeg digs in tonight and bounces back, and the price is cheap. Winnipeg minus 125 for my best bet here for this Thursday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the show. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. And of course, tomorrow on Friday, Jimmy Murphy Friday, if you will, on the show, which is a reminder to remind all of you as well. Make sure you check out his show as well, The Eye Test, Monday to Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, with him and Pierre Maguire. Great guests, great hockey discussion. Make sure you check out Jimmy's show as well. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. It's a great card tonight. Enjoy it. Good luck with your wagers, and we will see you again tomorrow on Friday for another edition of the Ice Guys.